It's called Being Blank, and I'm your host, Maria Sid Medina. Rich Ting, thank you so much for sitting down with me.
Thank you for having me.
This
is fun already.
Already? We haven't even started yet. Rich Ting. Okay, wait. So were you born with that name, or is that your stage name? Because actors have stage names, right?
Right. I was born Richard. And
Okay.
so actually my first name is one of my grandfather's names. My middle name is Jonathan. That's the other grandfather. So the oldest son, that was kind of the compromise.
Okay.
So then Richard, but I've never been called Richard. Like, even I guess people might think like if my parents get mad or something, they're like, Richard, right? Like, no. It's always been Rich, or the way you know me, the way I know you know me is if you call me Richie.
Oh.
Like, that's the OG, like.
So did your
flashback.
parents call you Richie, or
Yeah.
your homies called you Richie?
The parents.
Okay.
And then like uncles, aunts, like family.
Yeah.
So, and then like some of the homies who have been around for a while, then that kind of gives them cred with me, because people be like, oh my God, I called you Richie. I'm like, oh yeah, I've known him since I was born.
That's awesome. Okay, so maybe after this podcast, I'll be on that terms where I can call you Richie.
Yes, that's cool.
Okay, so
So Rich Ting is my real name, and I didn't have enough time to think of a stage name, so I just kept it.
Rich is cool. I feel like Rich is good. Rich is good.
Yeah, I mean, it's me, so I don't feel weird.
Okay, so I did obviously some research on you. You have roots in the Bay.
So I was born and raised in LA, from the South Bay down here, since we are in Los Angeles right now. And I moved up with my parents around like middle school.
So you moved up to the Bay.
To the Bay.
Okay.
So it's like the peninsula area.
Okay.
And that's why I love the Bay, because, well, I don't know about now, but there was less traffic when we moved up from LA, right?
Oh, yeah. No, that's changed.
Yeah, right. I think it's still less than here, so it's always refreshing to go back. But I say all that because we lived in the peninsula, literally like in like the Palo Alto area initially. But like I did martial arts in San Jose. We were in the East Bay. We were in the city, like all in one day. We would just like commute because of sports and everything.
Oh, yeah, you can't do that in one day anymore.
Yeah, right. It's impossible. Like, so that's why I think it was a great time, because I really got to experience the whole Bay Area, literally, even though I lived in one spot predominantly. So, but yeah, middle school, junior high, high school in the city. Shout out Archbishop Reardon High School right in San Francisco. So,
Wow.
A lot of formative years.
Yeah.
Right. And so I take a lot of pride in claiming the Bay.
I was gonna say, I feel like you were part of that hyphy movement.
Oh,
I
yeah.
feel like when I look at you,
Right.
you can get hyphy, Rich.
Right. No, like I'm not to date myself, but we're talking like E40's had this dope renaissance, right? With the Niners and just his own music, and we got newcomers like P-Lo and everybody coming up. But I was part of that initial wave of like when E40 came, and I mean, let's see, who else could I drop? Like, I was a city cat, so it's like JT the Bigger Figure, like RBL Posse, who else? Just those kind of guys, you know what I mean? And,
The legends.
yeah, and the Loonies, obviously, Too Short, obviously. I mean, I went to a Too Short concert, I remember when I was like in junior high, when he had just dropped that album. You know what I mean?
Uh-huh.
And they were saying the B word and all that stuff, right? But like I was there when that was being created, so now that I think like even the Philadelphia Eagles were celebrating with that song recently at the Super Bowl. I'm like, man, I remember.
Yeah, what's old is new again.
Right. It's crazy.
Yeah. And anyways, I had to get that out, because I was like, I feel like Rich Ting like can get down.
No, 100%,
Or Richie Ting can get down.
Richie Ting, yeah, right.
Okay, so let me ask you then, silence while working out or music in the headphones?
All music, 100%.
What are you bumping these days?
I'm on this EDM thing. So,
really?
Yeah, it's just because it's constant, good energy. I'm like, as much as like I grew up on hip hop, I mean, I was actually part of this EDM thing before it became mainstream, to be honest. Like I went to college on the East Coast, spent a lot of time in New York, kind of got introduced to that whole electronic genre there, and so when I work out now, it's just like, I just zone in, if I can, it's a couple hours. And I got just, the top EDM stuff going on. So
All right.
I don't have to think. You know what I mean? I just play.
Right. And we don't have to listen to one genre of music. Okay. Another question for you.
Yep.
Coffee or tea?
Oh, coffee, 100%.
What kind of coffee? Are you a simple coffee guy? Fancy coffee guy? So you're not ordering like 160 degrees at Starbucks with like whipped cream.
No.
Okay.
I'm it's about caffeine and low caloric intake. So I'm like iced Americano or hot Americano, espresso. You know, like a lot of people.
All right.
An espresso machine at home. You know, that
Simple.
kind of stuff. Yeah.
Simple then. Okay. Brunch or happy hour?
Oh man. Actually, I think I'm a brunch guy because I love breakfast, you know, and happy hour is not so much, I think, food for me. It's obviously more drink. So I say brunch.
I mean, you guys got some great spots here in LA, and you live in the heart of Los Angeles.
The bad thing is you just got to have a reservation 3 months ahead of time.
I know.
You show up on the day, they smile, and they go, oh, it'll be like a 5-hour wait. You
can't be like, hey, man, I'm Richie Ting.
You know what? That's so funny you bring that up because that's the one thing that I've always said, like, even before kind of I got into the entertainment world. I said, if I could reach some sort of fame in my life, the one perk I want. I don't want the plane, right? I don't want the VIP escort, right? I want to be able to walk into any restaurant at any given time, spontaneous, whatever it may be, and get seated.
Fair.
Like, I've been with people who are at that level, and it's fantastic.
Right. I mean, you want good food.
Yeah.
And you want it now. Yeah, you want it right then when you walk in.
So that's the ultimate flex for me, and when that does happen, I will be so excited.
I was gonna say, I feel like it has to happen, or you're on the verge of it happening.
In certain parts, but like I want to be like I've been very fortunate to travel and be amongst top celebrities, right? And I see how it's not even a question of like where we're gonna go.
Yeah.
It's what do you want to eat and what would you like to do and we're gonna do it. And we walk in and they're like, oh my gosh, like 1 second, you know, and people start moving furniture, you know what I mean? And that's great. I love that.
Have you been out with Sylvester Stallone? Have you actually been out together?
I haven't been out with him off set. That's a strictly, he's a very private dude, but with such presence. So just being in his trailer on, you know, at base camp or being next to him in the chair on set or standing next to him on camera, like, all of that was amazing. I don't need any more time with that man. Like,
how is he? I mean, is he down to earth? I mean, is he pretentious? Give me a little behind the scenes of Sylvester Stallone.
Yeah, no, he's not any of those things. I mean, he is. He's down to earth. He's not pretentious. He's a funny dude. I always say that. Like, you know, I think we're so jaded because of all of his films and all of his work and his physicality, right? That he comes off as like this intimidating person. But in real life, like, he's kind of a prankster. Like, he's a jokester. He comes in. He has extremely great, like, his energy is so contagious is what I always say. He likes to talk to everybody. For some reason, I always saw him, maybe it was because of the weather when we're shooting in Atlanta. He was always in, like, a black fitted tee with jeans and, like,
oh, that's his
slippers.
uniform?
Yeah, like, every day, just slippers, you know, and that's how he rolls into set. You know, he has this... You know, it's very obvious he has this like calmness about him. I mean, he's been doing this his whole life. And, you know, I think he's like 78 years old or whatever.
And it's crazy he's still going.
Not only is he still going, we were filming in Atlanta during the summer. So it got up to like, I mean, we were filming. So we're talking about Tulsa King season 2, obviously. And anyone that's listening, that's seen the show, especially this second season, knows that my character, Jackie Ming, operates out of a greenhouse on a marijuana farm. Mm-hmm. So what we can't convey visually a lot is the temperature and the humidity. And no joke, it got up to 130 degrees one day in the greenhouse with like 85% humidity. And Sly's in there, 3-piece suit. We're all geared up because we look fantastic in our clothes, but we're just dying. But no one can complain because 70-year-old Sly is standing strong and doing his scenes. And
I would have died.
Oh my God. No, a lot of people, he did have to check out a couple times and go to the hospital, but
wait, what? It was that
heat
bad?
Exhaustion. Yeah.
Wow.
It hit a lot of, unfortunately I was okay. it hit a lot of the crew and some of the cast, and including Sly. And so, I mean, that's just not healthy. No matter, I don't care how like young you are, that's just not cool.
So you started off doing stunts.
Right.
I don't know if, you know, people who haven't done any research, they may not know that.
Right. Good research.
Yeah. Tell me, what's the gnarliest injury that you've ever had, or have you had a pretty bad injury?
Well, first, like you said, I entered the stunt business because of my family connection to the stunt game in Hollywood. My mom's side, my cousin, and some of my uncles are basically OG stunt coordinators in the game. And so I never wanted to be a stunt man, but that was a really cool introduction to the entertainment world. And so in pursuing that, that was kind of like, I call it my hazing period, right? To kind of get into like, because acting and stunts are apples and oranges.
Right.
So in order for me to cross over, I wanted just to get in the game first. And so I say all that just because I have a lot of gratitude to the stunt community and everyone that helped me out in the beginning. But when you ask me what the gnarliest injury, that's easy because I had a really bad one. I think it was like a year and a half into it. I had to do a high fall. Basically, it was on a Jason Statham film, and Jason kicks me.
Oh, that's all you have to say.
Right. And I think it was Crank 2, actually. So anyone that's seen those Crank movies know that it's gnarly. That's a perfect word to describe those films. They're gnarly as hell. But basically, I was on the second floor of like a residential house, and Jason comes in and basically just whoops everybody in this house, and I had the luxury of getting like back kicked out of the window on the second floor, no wire. I went out blind. So basically, if you can imagine, I'm facing him inside the house with my back to this window on the second floor. So he kicks me, and I have to throw myself blindly through the window. So I have to be basically hunched down as I'm getting kicked to take the reaction so I can fit through the window, right? Because I can't
with no wire.
With no wire. And the directions was they wanted me to come through. And it was one of those roofs that's like slanted. And I get kicked out. They wanted me to hit my back on the roof and then somersault over the ledge. So basically they wanted me to see like the drainage of the roof on the second floor, and then of course I went to a padded landing. The problem though,
oh no!
And the two directors, it was Brian Taylor and I forget his partner. I think they had like, I'm not even exaggerating, I think they had like 50 cameras set up for this shot because there was all these small cameras and they wanted to do some effect. So they were basically like, you know, we prepped it all day and it's like one take. And so,
what are you thinking in your head? Are you like, man, I can do this, or like, I'm nervous. This is huge.
To be honest, yeah, all those things, literally. But more importantly, you know, stunts is what I always call controlled chaos, and that's what makes all these stunt players like mind blowing because they wreck in control. Yet when you see it visually, you're like, that was crazy. Mm-hmm. But they get up and they do it again. And they do it again, and they do it again because we have to do multiple takes, or maybe the camera or the lighting or something screwed up.
Oh, I would be so mad if the camera was screwed up.
Right,
and I did a great take.
You know, the joke is always like you wreck, you have this nasty wreck, and then the coordinator's like, you got another one in you? And you're like, of course I do. Meanwhile, like your like limb is hanging off, right? So I was thinking all those things. More importantly, you know, you have to really kind of slow it down in your head. Because like I said, it's controlled chaos. So my concern was having too much momentum and adrenaline going out the window that I was going to miss the roof because they wanted me to hit the roof once and bounce.
Oh my God.
And I was like, you know what? If I'm this like jacked up in the head and got all the juices flowing, I may just throw myself out and never hit the roof and just go straight to the pad, which wouldn't look as dramatic.
Right.
Which I would probably have to do it again. I didn't want to do it again.
Okay, so you're like, let's just get this done in one take.
Right.
All right.
And so what happens is, you know, we're padded up. You know, we wear all these awesome low-profile knee pads, hip pads, whatever, you know, elbow pads, whatever. On that particular day, I was wearing these hard shell motorcycle knee and shin pads because I knew I was going to clip my legs on the roof somehow. So I say that because what ends up happening is I go out the window, everything's happening in slow motion. I hit the roof, I somersault over, I see the landing, and I'm like, yes, like midair. I'm like, and it happens so fast, but in my mind, it's happening really slow. And I'm like, yes, I got it, right? And I'm falling to the pad on my back, and I have a back pad on. Plus, I'm going to like this like huge like landing pad. The problem is that we made the landing pad too soft. Okay. So if it was harder, I would have hit it and kind of bounced up.
Okay.
But what happens, I hit it, and I used the phrase I tacoed. So basically what happened is my knees come to my face.
You buckled, like your body buckled together.
And so what happens, because of my hard shell knee pads, I broke my nose and my orbital socket on my left side of my face, and I got knocked out.
Oh,
but I
knocked
did it to
yourself
myself.
out?
Yeah, because the landing pad was too soft. And the crazy thing was, I was supposed to get up and then hop the fence and run down the street, and that was the out of frame kind of action they wanted. I never obviously did it. And
ouch.
I woke up and everyone was kind of around me, and I just felt really numb. I didn't know what happened. Long story short, I went to the ER, and they're like, yeah, broke your nose, broke your orbital socket, part of my cheekbone, and it sucked. Because I had booked a commercial as an actor like in 2 weeks.
Oh man!
And I was like, "Come on, man!" But
And this is when you're first starting, so you really want to book.
Yeah, no, you gotta
jobs.
grab everything.
Wait, so did you do it in one take though?
I mean, yeah, they got it. And what's so sad is that it's like what happens to all these stunt players. They do these crazy things and they're split seconds on camera. You know, and the overall effect is great, right? Because you just see people flying and like, oh my God, but it's not like they highlight you.
Right.
It's not like they do a close-up on you or like an ISO of you just falling out, or it's part of the whole action sequence. So
you're on for like 2 seconds.
Yeah, but the damage lasted a few months, obviously.
Did it make it into the movie at least?
Oh, yeah.
Okay, cool. Did you ever finish the scene?
No, because they cut. They cut to no one else, like, another reaction from another guy getting beat up. But that was by far I've done one of my first big films was with Gerard Butler on the stunt side. I was a movie called Gamer, and he shoots me off this staircase, and the staircase is like in this old warehouse. I'm sure there was asbestos there for sure. And the staircase it was like a long staircase. I swear, let's say the average staircase is like, I don't know, like 15 steps. This thing was like almost 30, and I had to get ratcheted off this thing. So I'd have to run up, and then they let me run up the last like 5 or 6 steps, and then on action it's like I run up, and then he shoots me with this like it was a video game movie, so it was like this like crazy like powerful rifle, and the effect is like he doesn't just send me down. Mm-hmm. They wired me so I actually go up on the side of the wall, and then I fall straight down. So I don't even get to like stop my momentum on this. It's like I literally go higher and then I just drop.
But you're wired this time.
I'm wired, but I'm falling. Like I'm falling. And I remember we did it like I think 18 times. And then Jerry, he took a photo with me after.
Okay, he goes by Jerry?
Yeah, he goes by Jerry.
Oh, okay. To the homies, he's Jerry.
Yeah. And he was like, I appreciate you, man. And I was like, I need a photo because I'm hurting really bad, and so we took a photo.
I mean, so you're a stunt double, and you guys make it look so easy, but you really are beating your body up.
Oh no, totally. It's a physical sport. Having played football all the way through college, I felt like I got beat up a lot more in 2 years of the stunt world than like in 13 years of football. Yeah, I definitely took more because football, you got pads. Mm-hmm. I mean, we have pads too in the stunt world, but they're not football pads. You're not wearing a helmet. You know what I mean? Like, that's the whole point of it. You got to look like you got wrecked in regular clothes.
I mean, and you do one game and then it's done. I mean, we're there like every day, and you're doing it over and over and over again.
Right.
So when you got into being a stunt double, mm-hmm. you actually had been going to school to be a lawyer. My Asian parents would have been like, hey, yo, you need to be a doctor or a lawyer. What were your parents saying? Were they like, do you have a tiger mom?
No, actually, I didn't. And my mom has been like my number one supporter, and she's the why. You know, I always say like, why do I do this? It's because of her. Now, obviously, it's because of her and my wife and my 2 dogs, because they need to be pampered as well.
We're gonna get to your dogs later.
Okay,
I do want to talk about your dogs.
But yeah, no. So, you know, for the record, I finished. I'm a finisher, meaning that I finished law school. I finished my MBA school. And then I was like, all right, let's start this new chapter. And ironically, it kind of led me to the entertainment world, even though I had a law firm job locked up that I had been working towards in law school. And one thing led to the next. And I was like, you know what? Let me try this. The partners at the law firm were very supportive of my ambition, right? And so when I decided to kind of enter the stunt game, I think at this point, the one benefit I had was my parents. Well, like I said, my mom is always like, she knew academically I could do anything I wanted to do. But being raised, and my dad's a sports orthopedic surgeon, she knew like medicine wasn't for me. Not that I couldn't.
She knew her son.
Right.
And what your passion was.
Yeah. She was like, you're not medicine. I can see you more in the law corporate world, but I don't know. And then she knew how much I love the arts, even though given my time restrictions growing up to the athletic world, I never really had time to explore the arts. But she knew if whatever I want to do, if I put my mind to it, I'll be fine. So she never really worried about me, to be honest. It was more my dad, because he's, you know, the dad, and he's like, it's medicine or die, right? Kind of mentality.
Which are a lot of Asian parents.
And at the core of that, which I came to learn a lot later in life, is just he wanted me to be stable. He wanted me to have success financially. He wanted me to have success like any other parent wants their kid to have success. So it wasn't like he was hating.
Which I feel like a lot of Asian parents think that, right? They think doctor, lawyer, nurse, anything like in the medical field, or for some reason a lawyer is something that they want their children to achieve. Because when they come to America, at least I know that you're 4th generation, but immigrants, when they come to America, at least Asian parents, they think those professions are the ones that'll give the stability and the, you know, financial secure.
And I think that's such a weird thing, because that's like so old school, right? Because it combines like, you know, lawyer, doctor, finance, whatever it may be. It combines this historic stereotype of success, intelligence, and stability, right? And that all goes to this great image, like I feel like all Asian cultures share traditionally.
The title too, right?
However, as I've experienced, because I'm the oldest in my family, which makes me the default helper to everything, every problem we have, whether it's professionally or family.
I get it. I'm the older, the older
so
child too.
You get it. It's like by default, it's like, hey, this is wrong, fix it. And I'm like, I don't even know what's going on. So I say that because I'm very heavily involved with my dad's medical practice. I've been, you know, for the last probably 15 years. And I've learned a lot about the medical field outside being right next to him my whole life while he's seeing patients and, you know, covering his sports teams, whether it's the Niners or the Sharks or whatever it was. And I say all that to know, like, if you really want your kid to succeed, don't have them go into medicine, because the way that whole insurance game, the way the medical world has evolved, it doesn't pay out like it used to. So that's why I get frustrated, because even like right now, there's Asian parents that are like, you need to be financially successful, be a doctor. And I would say, look, that's not one of the top right now. There's so much other things going on in the world, business-wise, entrepreneur stuff, like social media.
You're seeing it firsthand.
Oh my God. So when I hear that old mentality, I kind of laugh and go, well, it's like an oxymoron, because it's like you want your kid to make money, but they're not making as much money as they used to, right?
Right. So, the world has changed.
Oh my God, it's crazy. Like,
but they must be so proud of you now.
I mean, now, you know what I mean? Which I always knew. And, you know, to be honest, I think by the time I made the decision to pursue the arts and the crafts in the entertainment world, I knew my parents had installed the foundation, you know, the work ethic, the accountability. And so I was very confident. To be honest, I had a lot of self-faith. I had a lot of self-confidence that I can do this.
I mean, you've really done everything, Rich, if you think about it. I mean, you were an athlete. Okay, well, we'll get to that. You're an athlete. I mean, you went to law school. Did you go to business school too?
Yeah, so I did the joint JD MBA program.
I mean, that's crazy. And then you became a stunt double, and then you were able to cross over into acting, which is not easy. Not everyone does that.
Right.
When you got into acting, were you worried, concerned that you would be typecast?
Oh, 100%, especially when I entered. I entered the business or the industry in 2007. And at that time, people were like, oh man, this is a good time because Asians are coming up. And I'm like, no, we're not. Like, I don't see any change, as an audience, as a viewer, I don't see any change. And now that I'm in the game, Asian stunt guys are still getting killed left and right. You know what I mean? Like, that's why they needed us. You know what I mean? And then that's why a lot of Asian stuntmen had great careers, because we're always getting killed. We're always playing bad guys. If they do cast an Asian hero, most likely at that time, it was going to be someone from Hong Kong or Korea that brought a following of like millions of fans. So obviously the studios would love that. So for me, I always knew, just no one told me this. I just knew. I was like, no one in Hollywood, no studio exec, no producer, no big time director writer is going to look in their backyard for an Asian male actor to be a leading man. They're going to look to Asia. And so that's what motivated me to kind of put out there in the universe that I need to go to Asia first. I need to make these people feel stupid, meaning these executives and these studios, that they had to look for, they went to Asia to look and ended up finding a guy in Asia who's from LA.
You know what's crazy? When you talk about it, I mean, you really are very intelligent. You went to Yale. You're very strategic. I mean, you thought this through. You knew that you had to, create stepping stones to get to where you're at. So you go to Asia.
Right. So what happens in, 2009. So I started in the stunt world in 2007. I think it's the best way to enter the entertainment world, especially if you transition like me over to the acting side. It's the most humbling experience. You get to learn so much about set etiquette, about protecting people. Initially, I was in Southeast Asia.
Okay.
And so what happens in 2009, I get my first opportunity. I was doing small acting gigs here and there, guest stars, whatever, when I could, studying the craft. And then my first big break and opportunity was to be a lead in a feature film initially in Vietnam. And it was to commemorate 1,000 years of Hanoi at the time. It was like a huge production. They had one fictional character that went along with the storyline that was from an unknown Asian country that was like this big war general who got recruited to, his kingdom was defeated, but they kept him alive and they added him to one of the kings of Vietnam to conquer more land. And anyways, that's the role I ended up getting offered to do.
That's a pretty cool role.
It was fantastic because, I'd never really traveled up until that point in my career, outside the U.S. And going from LA, San Francisco, the East Coast of the U.S., and all of a sudden I'm in literally like the jungles of Vietnam.
Vietnam is an amazing country, by the way. I've been there. Oh my gosh. But it is like so different than the U.S.
It was, culture shock is not the word, because like you said earlier, I'm fourth generation Asian, right? So Asian American. So I look Asian, but there's nothing about me besides that's really Asian. So I show up in Vietnam and, I see all the mopeds and I see people wearing like those rice hats and, and there's just the traffic.
By the way, the mopeds, like the people driving the mopeds, that they have like mattresses on their mopeds.
Oh, I've seen a refrigerator.
Kids. Yeah.
Okay.
Like no joke.
I've seen a water tank, like those big ones they have.
They're
in the
like
building.
super talented over there.
No, like I've seen a family of 8 on a regular size moped.
And I know you're not exaggerating because I've seen it too.
I got a photo of it. You know what I mean? Like, and I was like a fish out of water there.
What's the difference between the being on set there in Asia compared to here in the U.S.?
Oh yeah, great question. Well, first, we have SAG in the States, in Hollywood, which is the Screen Actors Guild. So it's a fantastic union. They protect all of us very well. And I realized the significance of SAG when I went to Vietnam because it was not a SAG project that I was doing. I don't know. Where do I start?
Oh, no.
First off, so I had 2 humbling experiences. One, entering Hollywood through the stunt department because they are they are the blue collar workers of this industry. They're the first on set, last to go. They have to do the riskiest things. They put their lives at stake, yet they're the ones responsible for making a movie or a show awesome because of the action. Yet they get the least amount of credit. And the goal of a stuntman is to hide your face and never be seen so you can keep working. Because the minute you die and we see your face, you're wrapped, right? So basically you get zero recognition.
Yeah.
You're the guy that flew across the screen. You're the guy that got burned. You're the guy that crashed the car, right?
You're the guy who gets his orbital
yeah, you're the one who gets smashed
crushed
in the face. And so I say all that because that was humbling in itself to start in Hollywood in that way, let alone I go to Vietnam. And, you know, Saigon and Hanoi are so different, and everything in between and everything south of, you know, the Mekong area. In Saigon and Ho Chi Minh City, there's one season, and it's called hot year round.
Okay.
It's like, it's so hot.
Really?
Like,
okay, so I've only been there, like, obviously for a week, but
okay.
You're saying it's like that all the time.
It's like that. It's not even summer. I don't know what the hell that is. It's like 90 degrees and 90 degrees humidity, 90% humidity.
Yeah, you do feel like you're in a box.
You're always wet.
Yeah.
Like, you take a shower, you drive, you go outside, like you literally step out your room or whatever into the atmosphere, you're wet. Okay. So when I went, it's obviously gotten a lot better, you know, technology wise. And I think, you know, they've developed a lot, you know, as a country. But when I was there, it was still pretty rural, you know, and set life, well, there's no trailers. You know, you basically live in we had my road manager and we had a minivan, which was like our mobile home.
What? And that's where you would take like your breaks and get your makeup done.
I lived in that thing.
Oh no.
And so, which was fine because my mentality was like, I'm gonna do this. It was very exciting. I'm not even trying to, like, you know, in hindsight, no, I was so excited to be there. I was getting paid to train basically on an A level of an international country. Like, the recognition I got, the visibility, it got to a point where like I couldn't go anywhere.
That's amazing.
Yeah, and so I experienced that stardom. Granted, it was in, you know, another country at a very young age. But still, when you're going out and you're being recognized, you know, your hard work is being recognized. Right. It was overwhelming, to be honest, because just the cultural etiquette of Vietnam is a lot different than the U.S. And I'm so American that I had to learn real quick how to adapt. But, you know, I tell this story sometimes when people ask, well, actually, no one's asked me this exact question. People have asked me other questions for like, you know, what was one of your toughest experiences, like filming or something on location? That's usually the question. And there was this one time where I was in the north of Hanoi. We were in the jungles. I'm saying jungles, like uninhabited. Like, I mean, people may be living there. I didn't know. And it's supposedly rumored that's where Ho Chi Minh retreated and later died. And so on one end, I remember seeing these huge bronze like statues. And when I say huge, I'm talking like they were bigger than houses of Ho Chi Minh everywhere, like in the middle of nowhere, and just crazy artwork. But he was like a god, you know what I mean? And that was the thing I took back, which was, and being a history major at Yale, I was eating all this up. Like, it was so dope to see like this cultural stuff. But my point is, we're in the jungle and I have a little red plastic stool that was kind of like my chair.
Which, for some reason, red plastic stools are like a thing.
Right.
in Asia.
Right. If you've been to Asia, you know exactly what I'm talking about. And I'm taller. Like, I felt like LeBron sitting like on a regular chair.
You eat in those. You take a nap in those. You read to your children in those. I mean, they're like everywhere.
Right. And it was so hot. And I remember the makeup lady kept powdering me, and I literally told her, like, just stop, because I'm dripping the stuff off. And I'm on this chair. They're shooting, you know, I'd say 40 yards away from me, so I'm kind of isolated. The bamboo forest is beautiful. The silence is amazing. I'm in nature. The vegetation is up to my knees. And I just happen to like look up. And I look up and I see all the village kids hiding in the trees, like super high up, like looking at me. And I didn't know they were there. And I was like so freaked out.
Wait, they're in the trees.
So they're like, what they do is they can like swing from tree to tree, and they're little kids. They're like, you know, I don't know, maybe.
And
like,
no one can hear them.
no, I didn't hear them. That was the crazy thing. And I've been sitting there by myself for like, you know.
That's some skill.
No, and I look up and they're like smiling at me, and there was like 20 of them, I think, in that area, and because they wanted to see what we were doing. And I was like, oh my God. I don't know if I can cuss on this thing, but I was like, holy shit, right? Like, what? Like, what
Don't
the
worry,
hell?
you can cuss.
Okay. And I freaked out, and I remember thinking, this is why the U.S. had problems here during the war, because I feel like I represent physically an American guy. Like, I'm bigger, you know, I'm taller, and you literally couldn't see these kids in the vegetation, and I had to go use the restroom. So
They're stealth.
literally,
No, they were there.
and I remember, like, you know, there was no designated bath. Oh, so there was no bathrooms on set, and that was another thing. And we're in the jungle.
I was getting that.
Yeah,
I was getting that.
so it's not like I was like, oh, I'm going to my trailer to go to the bathroom. So I had to go number one. Okay, for anyone that's wondering.
So how many days were you in the jungle, and how many days do you think that they were watching you and you had no idea?
I don't know, because, you know, the thing that was so amazing about my time in Vietnam is I was working on this historic feature, and then I also booked a Korean drama that happened to be shooting in Saigon at the time. So I was working 7 days a week, and it couldn't have been more fun because that's all I wanted to do, obviously. So just think of it like this. You get to do what you love to do every day of the week for like almost 2 years straight, no break. And so what was happening is I was commuting from Hanoi to Ho Chi Minh City, Saigon, like every 3 or 4 days. And so I would go from like being in a contemporary Korean drama in the city in the South where it's hot as hell, and then I would fly, and then, you know, if it was the winter, it like, I think it snows in Hanoi. It gets freezing. And so we would be back in the jungle. Now it's freezing, right? And like we would have to usually in Hollywood, if we, you know, lock down a location or a neighborhood or a street, you know, we get all the permits and everyone vacates, basically. Obviously, you live there, accommodations can be made when we're filming. But in Vietnam, it was the opposite. It's like, if we want to film in this part of the area and it's owned by a certain village, the producers have to negotiate with the village.
You have to ask permission, basically.
And in doing so, they're allowed to be there because we're invading their home, basically.
Yeah, they're like, you're not disrupting our lives.
Right.
You're coming here.
Right. And a lot of these rural areas, you know, they just aren't current. I don't know what a better word is, but they're just not, they don't see the city life. They don't really get out much from the mountain and the jungles. So when we would enter these villages, it was different because they're, you know.
Did they care? Like, were they like, wow, this is so cool? Or were they like, no, you guys are like invaders?
No. They were positive, but it's kind of scary because one thing I encountered a lot, not me personally, but me there. So it wasn't because of what I was doing or anything. I was the reason. But I witnessed how, like, in a third world country like that, how there can be a shift from love and hate within a second. Like, if you disrespect or you do something weird, it can turn real quick.
Oh, that's like Asian culture, period.
Well, yeah, true. So let's...
Like, if I, like, you know, say hi to my dad and then, like, it's followed up with, like, Dad, why didn't you give me my allowance? Oh.
Right.
I'm kicked out.
Right. So... That all stems from somewhere, right? I felt like I was at the root, okay? And, you know, there's hundreds of villagers. And they're very, and you know how this is in Asia. There's no 6 feet rule, right? In Asia. It's like
6 centimeter rule?
Maybe 6 centimeters. I don't even think 6 inches, 6 centimeters. So, and that's in the city, you know? And so when you got out to the countryside, they were very curious, especially about me, because I just looked different. And so there was a lot of physical.
They're like, this Asian guy is so tall.
And I had long hair. Like, I had a lot going on. And I was in character, so, you know, I stuck out, obviously, like the rest of the actors, but they're very touchy and feely.
Oh.
And I'm very OCD. I'm not as bad as Howie Mandel, but like I'm OCD.
Yeah.
And so that was.
I don't know about touching someone. Like, what do you mean? Like, they would just like touch your face?
Yeah,
oh no.
and like my clothes. Like the minute you step out the car.
Were they like, are you real?
Kind of like that in that way. I think that's the way Americans would kind of interpret it. And so, I'm a germphobe. So, just to put it in perspective, when COVID hit, my wife and I really didn't have to change anything we were doing.
Wow.
So we were kind of.
Is this like super close then?
No, we're good. We're good. We're good, Maria. I know you.
I'm not sick, I promise.
But that's like me.
Yeah.
And so now put me into like that environment. And I remember like my translator and like, you know, my team, they would tell me like, don't cringe or don't make a weird face because they can take it the wrong way.
So were they doing it because they were like just in awe and that's their sign of affection?
Yeah, it was all love.
Okay.
So, but you know, when someone approaches me, and you know, God, how do I say this? I'll just be blunt. Like there was diseases going on in this village.
Okay, yeah.
And it was very obvious.
I mean, even in the U.S., you touch somebody and you're like, oh my God, hopefully you don't have the flu or something.
Right, but let me paint a more vivid picture for the listeners. There was distinct physical stuff going on.
Okay.
And they wanted to like hand their baby to me to hold them and stuff like that. And to be honest, if you had a baby right now, I'm like, I don't want to hold your baby. That's too much responsibility. And it's nothing against you, your kid, I'm just not that guy to begin with.
Yeah.
Let alone we're in the jungle and I hate to say it like this, but I'm just trying to paint a picture. And this poor baby has a skin problem, let's just say. And it's very obvious.
Yeah.
There's something going on.
Yeah.
And they're handing the kid to me.
But to them, it's a sign of affection.
Yes.
And to you, you're like, what's going on?
Yes. And so those are the kind of situations I had to kind of maneuver out of without disrespecting them.
Right.
And so again, in Hollywood, if you're a spectator, you're not really allowed anywhere near me.
Oh, yeah.
Out of protection and out of security reasons, right? So that's a huge difference right there.
Interesting. Also,
the crew in Hollywood is fantastic. I'm spoiled because, you know, I've done predominantly everything in my career in Hollywood set. In other countries I've experienced, and I've also heard in other countries I haven't been to or worked in, crews kind of just disappear.
Wait, what?
Crews kind of take smoke breaks and never come back.
They just like leave.
Yeah.
They just are like, I'm done.
Yeah. And so there's a lot of delays because all of a sudden we can't find lighting people. They somehow are not here anymore. And stuff like that. It was weird.
I got a better job somewhere else.
Yeah,
see ya.
Literally.
It's cool, Rich Ting. You can find somebody else.
Right. And so, those things, which I think that's why I was there for 2 years.
Yeah.
Because we could have wrapped probably in 6 months. But delays, location delays, conflict regarding locations, with villagers and their village leaders. So.
It is cool, though, that you've been able to travel the world. You're here now in the U.S. Where can we see you right now on TV?
Yeah, right now. So recently we finished Tulsa King Season 2 was still on, as we talked about. That's streaming all 10 episodes on Paramount Plus. And my main show, On Call, which is Dick Wolf's 10th show, his first ever streamer. It's rated R. We're showcasing and highlighting Long Beach Police Department. That's streaming now on Amazon Prime. We've been streaming #1 for the last 3 weeks in the world.
That's awesome. Congratulations.
I haven't checked this week, but I'm sure we're up there still. And just really excited to play the role of Sergeant Tyson Koyama on Call. He's the team leader of the drug enforcement team of Long Beach PD.
Which you chose that name, right? Your character's name?
Yeah, so there is some history with that. That actually, Koyama is my mother's maiden name. And so my mom, shout out to Tim Walsh, our showrunner, and one of our creators, along with Elliot Wolf. Tim's been very hands-on with me for this process, and the minute we booked it, he wanted me to feel very comfortable with my name. And shout out to them in the sense of them doing their cultural research, knowing that there historically has been a huge Japanese presence and population in the South Bay of LA, of Southern California, as well as more recent, the Cambodians have come in and settled in Long Beach. So originally the character had a Cambodian name. They cast me, found out I was Japanese from the South Bay, so they wanted me to they allowed me to honor that demographic and my family. And it also pays tribute to my cousin who got me in, because he's a Koyama, to the stunt game back in the day. So it's really cool, you know, because never would I thought I would be able to honor and immortalize my mom's side of the family in a Hollywood production. You know, my mom jokes,
so
like,
cool.
you know, she's been a Ting her whole life, or for like, you know, so many years with my dad, and for her to get recognition through this character and my Japanese side to get a little love means everything to me. So it's cool.
I have a few last questions for you. Do you think we still have a long ways to go before Asian Americans are done being typecasted?
I think we've made a tremendous amount of progress. I still think, you know, being an Asian American male in this business, and we have so many more stories to tell. You know, I think we've broken that mold that we are just one, right? Like we only come in one shape, one size, one color. You know, the joke is we're all Chinese, right? We're not. And
or they can't tell us apart.
Right. We all look the same, obviously. I mean, because we do. And that's a joke, if you guys can tell. And so I just realized it's a podcast. But yeah, I think we still have a long ways to go. I'm very fortunate to be where I'm at right now, experiencing this shift. However, the one thing I want to say is, you know, there are so many organizations and people out there that focus on our representation. And I think there's a fine line between fighting for more representation and reminding people that we're still like being held down. Mm-hmm. It's this weird line. So on one end, I don't talk about, you know, how much we're being suppressed and how we're stereotypically portrayed, because currently we're not. So let's move forward, you know, because I feel like the minute we keep talking about, oh, well, stereotypically we're this, we're that, we don't have, then people, you know, ignorant people out there are like, oh yeah, they're still struggling, you know, they're still going through it.
I see what you mean.
When I'm like, no, like the character I'm playing on Call, the character I played on Tulsa King, even though I was playing a Chinese national, you know, the fact they would cast someone like me, of my physicality and my look and my energy, to be next to Stallone. See, traditionally that character I feel is small, is a tiny, scrawny guy, wiry. You know, I don't think I'm weird looking in that way, but like just they would want to go weird and make us almost look alienated, right? So
stereotypical.
Right. And so they went with someone like me, who I can definitely play that character, and I did. And there are real gangsters that come in all shapes and sizes from Asia, obviously. And now, you know, transitioning to like a police officer, I'm so proud to represent a visceral, masculine gang unit narcotics officer that is in tactical gear. You know, because there's so many Asian American police officers on the state level, on the federal level. I know a lot of them, yet we never see them. And if we see them, they're working in forensics. And I'm like, why are they working in forensics? These guys are they're undercover, they're putting their lives at stake. They need to be recognized. They need to be honored. So
you're saying keep the momentum going.
Yes, we have great momentum right now. And
we don't have to go to Asia to look for actors with big followings anymore.
No, honestly, Asia's coming here now. You know what I mean? Like, it's weird. You know, I have a team in Korea, because I did end up working in Korea for 4 years. And I never thought my team usually the traditional message was, Rich, you need to learn Korean, which I did. You need to assimilate to us, which I did. And that's why I was able to work there and continue to have a team there. Recently, with the boom on Netflix, with all the Korean, you know, drama and the world kind of recognizing it, whether it's K-pop or K-drama.
I was going to say K-pop music too.
I mean, that's been around since I was a little kid, and I've been into it since then. But, you know, the world has finally recognized it, right? But now my team in Korea has been telling me, we need English content. Like, we need you to speak English in these upcoming things.
Interesting. And so there's been a shift.
There's a huge, and it's so crazy because, I mean, I was there not too long ago. I was there working probably between 2012 and 2016, and I had consistent work. I did 3 features. I did 1 Korean drama. It was a bucket list thing for me. I always wanted to go there and try it out, and I was able to find success. And then things got busier in Hollywood, which is why I haven't been back since, just because of schedule. But they were so adamant when I was there that I had to assimilate and learn their culture, their language, their way of filming. And I did. Now they're like, we need you to speak English.
We need American Rich Ting.
And it's dope because I'm like, that's easy. Like, let's go. You know what I mean? So I think that's a win as well. You know, because when I talk about representation, I don't talk about Asians on film. You go to Hong Kong, you go to Korea, everyone's Asian. Okay, you go to Singapore, everyone's Asian. I'm talking about Asian Americans. And I'm so proud to not only be an Asian American, but to see me portray Asian American characters. You know,
that's amazing.
No accent, no fobbiness, like people that you and I both know exist. You know, people that represent us.
Yeah.
You know, so
there's so many talented Asian Americans out there, and we just, you know, we got to fill those spaces because, like you said, the momentum is there. We just got to keep it going. Okay, so like I said, I wanted to go back to your dogs. I love for anyone who follows Rich on his social media platforms, you have no shame. You tote around your small little dogs all the time.
Yes.
My husband's like, I would never have a small dog. I want these pitties. So I wore this little t-shirt of my pitty for you.
I love that.
But you're like, you love your dogs. You and your wife love your dogs.
Yeah.
What are your dogs' names again?
We have 2 Malteses. The older one's Somi, and the younger brother is Nori.
That's so cute.
Yeah, we had another Maltese that passed a couple years ago right after COVID named Pada. And there are kids, you know.
People who don't have dogs will not understand.
They don't get it. They don't get it. And that's cool.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Because I'm not talking to them. You know what I'm saying? Like, people, you know, we get all kinds of reactions, and, you know, but my wife is responsible for their manners and their etiquette. They're super well behaved.
I love that you're so proud of them, though.
Oh my gosh!
Because I mean, so when you see Rich, Rich, you're a tall guy, like you have this huge presence about you, and then you have your 2 little dogs with you, and it's I think that's awesome.
No, and given the fact that I've traditionally always been on location, and we always have to film and work in different parts of the world, as much as I'd love a big dog, like a guard dog, it would just be a lot more difficult.
True.
So they're super well behaved on flights, in the car, in hotels. You know,
you're like beaming talking about them.
because they're not the baby crying 2 rows back.
Yeah.
And people are always like, oh my God, I had no idea those dogs were here. And I'm like, yeah, that's how we roll. So
okay, so this episode's not going to drop until after, but Valentine's Day is coming up.
Right.
Are you a Valentine's Day kind of guy?
I am by default a February guy because my wife's birthday is in February.
Okay, there you go.
I get screwed every year because it's like...
You got to go big.
Yeah, I do. And she deserves it all. So yeah, I guess I am a Valentine's Day, but I kind of like, we celebrate kind of the whole month.
Okay, as you should.
Yeah.
Your wife's birthday.
Yeah. I surprise her with stuff throughout the entire month. So it's not like... all of a sudden, you know, February 14th hits. It's also, I proposed on February 14th.
Aww.
In 2007.
Okay, so you are kind of a Valentine's Day guy.
Yeah. So, which maybe is dumb, because I was like, oh, this is going to be so iconic. I'm going to propose. We're on location. It's February 14th, Valentine's Day. Then I realized, great, for the rest of my life, it's anniversary, it's Valentine's Day, and then her birthday is in a couple of weeks. So I celebrate the whole month for her, and now it's kind of got to a point where it's just like, what do you want? You know, they give me the list
because you've gotten her everything at this point.
I mean, yeah. And
how long have you guys been together?
We've been together, what is this, almost 9 years now, but we've been married. This is our 6th year married.
Amazing. Yeah. Congratulations.
Thank you.
Does she ever tell you to slow down? Because, like, I'm busy, and my husband's like, you need to slow down, but I feel like you're busier.
No. She's actually the opposite. Like, she's like, keep doing what you're doing. She's a Pisces.
Okay.
And so what I've learned is Pisces like to swim alone. They need their me time.
Oh, I love that.
You know, and I'm like a clinger. So I'm always like, whenever free time I have, I'm like, hey, let's do this. And she's like, oh, why? I was going to do this. I was like, okay, fine, never mind.
We love an independent woman. We love an independent queen.
And it works great because I am so busy, like you said, and she's very self-sufficient. and she holds the house down. She holds the dogs down. She holds me down. So I think she works harder than me. Like, and I'm not just saying that because we're talking about her. So I'm very fortunate. I'm very lucky. The support system I have in my life makes me have no excuse. I have zero excuses because of my mom and my wife. So there's no sympathy in this household for me at any given time.
That's awesome though. Like, you're successful because of that support as well.
Right.
Okay, last question for you. We're going to go back to our Asian roots here.
Mm-hmm.
Shoes or no shoes in the house?
Oh, no shoes.
Okay, visitors, shoes or no shoes?
No shoes.
Amazing.
We have slippers for visitors.
Okay, because you kept saying like you're like,
So
the
slippers
only
in the
Asian
house. Sorry,
slippers in the house.
Yeah.
Those are
You know
no
what I mean?
shoes. Yeah. So house slippers.
Right.
Okay, so like, because some people are like, hey, I think it's rude if you ask me to take off my shoes in your house.
Right, but also, I mean, my wife and I are so OCD, and we're both germphobes. So it's like, do you know how much bacteria comes in?
Seriously.
Like it's kind of disgusting, to be honest. Like
shoes on couches,
yeah.
on beds. That's a no-go for me.
Right. It's very. It's what is the word? Ick. Right.
It's
now?
gross.
Yeah.
It's gross. So you're more Asian than you think.
Oh no. Yeah. In that sense, 100%.
Do you have a rice cooker on your counter?
Oh my God. Not on our counter.
Oh, okay.
It's
You put it
stored.
away.
Yeah.
Okay, you don't like clutter.
Right.
But you eat rice all the time.
Yeah.
Okay, so all right.
Yeah.
Rich Ting, thank you so much. When you're in the Bay, got to get hypey at some point.
Oh, I'm down. Let's go.
All right. Thank you.